TitleMatchNetwork.com.
I still kept my job. You
Who,
know.
okay. Who were some of the first big names you worked with
Well,
in the ring?
I guess, a lot of them. You guys remember Dr. David Schultzz? Remember
Yeah.
him? David Schultzz? Remember him?
Smacked,
Yeah.
David,
I was working in
Schultzz.
Tennessee when that happened, and then next week I look at him, he's in the dressing room. I went, wow, David Schultzz, wow. He was a bad dude, man.
Right.
You guys remember Billy Robinson? Shooter, badass English guy. Billy Robinson was tough, still is tough to this day, heck of a shooter. I know I get off track, but this is the story, it's a true story. In Memphis, something to the point, I don't know exactly what happened. But I guess Billy would come in, and Billy, if a guy couldn't amateur wrestler, Billy, he put it on him. And I guess he did David, and he come back, and David was young then, and David said to him, he says, Mr. Roberts, he goes, I don't know that wrestling stuff. He said, if you do that again, we're going to fight. Eddie Marlin told this story. And then they did. Billy just laughed it off, so they got in the ring, and next night, I think, and took him down and did something wherever he did, and then David come up and let him up. David just nailed him and knocked him out. That's what I heard. But Randy Savage was the first one. When he was getting ready, was to do his Loser Leave Town match with Lawler, when he was getting ready to go to WWF, it was then. Jimmy Hart had already left, I think, and was getting a lot of guys.
This is the early 80s?
Yeah. I would say Randy Savage, because he was like an idol. I couldn't believe I was in the ring. I was like, wow, But Memphis TV, the week before, David Schultz had suplexed one of the Batten twins. Remember them? Mark and Brad, one of them on the floor. And the next week, Randy was working me. And there's a tape of it. Buddy of mine's got it. I want that so bad. And I went 11 minutes with Randy, and he laid out the match and everything, and he made me look good, which was hard to do then. And he suplexed me on the floor, and I couldn't believe it. He called it, and he goes, can you take a suplex on the floor, brother? And I thought, well, I ain't got no choice, But I said, sure, like that. You didn't say no to nothing, especially when a veteran guy like that dude. You'd say, sure, I'll try. You know what I mean? And I can remember that, and I'm thinking, I thought he paralyzed me. And afterwards, he did, and of course his elbow and everything. And afterwards, he come up, and he was going down the hall, because he was helping Lawler book the top place, and they were doing big business.
Talking about Memphis, right?
Yeah. It was Memphis Channel 5 studio. And I can remember going up to him and going, hey, Randy, thank you very much. Because he just went real fast, and I didn't really get a chance to tell him thank you, because I was just so honored. But I felt like I was paralyzed. And back then, nobody did stuff like that. They didn't suplex nobody on the floor. You didn't see that. Full-blown holding you up suplex and jumping up with you and going and all that. And I can remember running up to him and grabbing. I said, hey, Randy, I said, thank you very much. Thank us as an honor. I said, man, I said, I was like, yes. But I was hurt, man. I was hurt. Right. And he was a badass. Randy Savage was a badass. And he goes, kid, he looks at me, and he goes, kid, never thank someone that suplexes you on the floor. And I looked, and I went, you got a point there. And I walked up like, oh. The next day, I went to American Fitness. They had a jacuzzi, sauna, hot tub. I was in all three of them all day, man. But that was a big deal to me. A big deal.
You ended up working some matches. You worked for Jerry Lawler a lot at that time?
Back then, during that time, that period there, I got to work with Angelo Poffo a lot. I got to work with Lanny Poffo a lot, and they'd work with you. Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Gilbert's father, he had him under a mask. He'd come back from Continental, he had him under different stuff, and we'd go opening match. Tom Branch, which is Tom Ernesto Jr., Tom Ernesto's son, and Speedy Talltree, Tim Ernesto helped me a lot, worked with them all a lot. You guys remember Iron Mark Sharp?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was working in there, and he liked me and worked with me and taught me a whole lot. He really did. And Don Bass and Roger Smith were doing the interns. They did the assassins. They were Fire and Flame, and they're the guys that I left. I was there till '86, but I got to work with a lot of those. Coco Ware helped me a lot.
Was Jeff Jarrett around at the time?
No, Jeff wasn't in the business. He was in school. He was playing basketball in school. Jeff started in '86. summer of '86.
Okay.
You know, trying to think.
Matches
There's other
with,
guys.
Tony Falk?
Oh yes, Tony Falk helped me a lot.
What do you remember about your matches with him?
Oh, loved it. Before I went to Louisiana in '86, Tony would go, Tracy, if you want to learn, he said, you got to travel. You got to get out of here. You're not going to get a full-time. Because I was trying to get a full-time job wrestling where I could quit loading trucks.
Right.
I wanted to wrestle. And everybody tell me, you got to go on the road. You got to go on the road. Lower, Jarrett don't like to book local guys, starting them out full-time. No territory really did then. It was hard. You get some here and there, guys would cancel or leave the whatever happened, got fired. I'd be called at work, and I'd come in and work, and I'd work 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. Was loading trucks Monday through Friday, and the guys had the rides set up, and I would, I'd get a call. My boss, Don Barner, God rest his soul, was real cool, and he said, I told Eddie to give me 2 hours notice, and Don would let me off. I'd bring my gear with me to work every day. A lot of times I'd travel by myself because guys already had their rides lined up, and I was wore out, tired. They told me I had no fire in the ring. I said, God, I'm dead. I get in 12, 2 o'clock, but I'll be at work at 7, trying to work out, and just wore out. But Tony Falk, back then I got to work with him a lot in '85, '84 there. He'd come back from Louisiana, and he was just starting to do that losing streak he ended up doing when he did Jeff Jarrett's first match. And Tony told me and would always give me good advice and help me a lot then, and would always tell me, like I said, go on the road. This is Bill Dundee come back from Louisiana, and Bill was always good to me. He really was, and he come in the dressing room in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I'll never forget it. And he goes, I talked to Bill Watts today, and he said he wants you, and you. And he pointed to Coco Ware, Billy Travis, and myself. I said, I looked and I went, go work for Bill Watts. And that was a big territory back then. And bottom guys were making 1,000 to 1,200 a week. And in 1986, opening match, back then Jerry Jarrett's territory, there was 6 to 8 guys making over 1,000 a week. And that was a big deal in 1983, 86 area, all that.
Sure.
And I said, I'll go right now, man. I'll go right now. I said, I'll go. And Billy didn't want to leave home. He was a homeboy. And Coco was married, and had a family, his wife there. And they didn't really say nothing, but they kind of knew that, you know what I mean, that it was good for the business for them to go. Well, it took a few months, but I got there. Coco went about the same time I did. Billy stayed and did the father-son thing with Frank Morrell. And Tony Falk was like, well, you'll learn a lot down there with Bill Watts. He'll like you because you played sports, and amateur wrestler, and this and all that. And I went down there in '86, and my first night was Shreveport, Louisiana. And I was on my way there, and this is no lie, man. I lived away from home when I was in college. I traveled a little bit, worked for the Jarretts. I traveled a bit and playing college football, but I was on my own. Had my stuff in my car. Remember them old rails you put across the car in the back? I had all my clothes in there. I had no place to live. Didn't know nobody, nothing. Terry Taylor was the booker. Terry Taylor gave me my first full-time job in the business. Bill Dundee referred me to Terry Taylor.
In Florida?
No, in Louisiana,
Okay.
or Mid-South. It was Louisiana, Texas, like the Houston area, Tyler, Beaumont. He'd run all that. Oklahoma, of course. Tulsa, Oak City, Arkansas, Jonesboro mainly. Not Jonesboro, Little Rock, Jackson, Mississippi. Is huge territory. Huge. And and Terry Taylor was the booker. Bill Dundee got me in. Bill and Terry gave me my first full-time job, and it was supposed to be Billy Travis. On all the cards was Billy Travis. Billy didn't want to go. They weren't even going to bring me in because I had not much, I hadn't been working. I never had a full-time job. Mm-hmm. How can you get one if nobody will book you full-time? But anyway, I'm going and I'm stopping at Plaindale in Louisiana. I'll never forget this. You want to hear a fight story? This is a fight story. Okay. Well, I'm going in there and I'm going through that area, and it's around. It's on the state line. I can't remember the name. I'll think of it. But anyway, ain't no McDonald's in them little towns. Ain't no nothing. No fast food. Nothing. Finally, I stopped at some old store, gassed up, and had my little Grand Am. Remember them old Pontiac Grand Ams? I go inside. I come out, and this guy, a black guy, he says to me, he goes, "Hey man, let me borrow some money." And I says, I'm passing through, man. Like that. I said, He kept on saying it before I answered
Borrow
it.
some.
Now, he's walking with me out to the car, and there's 3 guys standing over here.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.